this thing on?
Good evening, everybody. Today is July 18th for our planning board meeting. We have presence of a quorum. Can I get a roll call, please?
Bob Morgan.
John Gemignani?
Trey Taylor.
Jed Tozer.
And Daniel Ferris. With a quorum present, can I get a motion to bring forth the agenda for tonight?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second that motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Moving on to item C for minutes of correction from the planning board meeting on June 20th. Anybody have any notes or corrections from that meeting? Seeing no comments, can I get a motion to go ahead and move the minutes for approval and move forward with that?
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
All those in favor? Aye.
I'll also second that.
Oh, second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Tonight we do have an opportunity for general public comment. If anybody has signed up, I'll go ahead and open the floor now. General public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Time cannot be transferred to another speaker. Does anybody have any public comments that they'd like to make available here now for the planning board? Seeing no one signed up and no one's standing up, we'll go ahead and move on from general public comments. Item D, do I need to open and close item D? Okay. Moving on to item E for old business, we have the Atalanta conditional rezoning. Tonight is an update to the applicant with a presentation. This is for our general knowledge only. We are not going to be making any comments this evening from the diocese.
This thing on, I think. Good evening, folks. My name is Zach Ducey. I'm the Director of Land Acquisition for Shea Homes, Carolina. This is probably the first time you all have seen my face, but here today is a follow-up from presentation we made, I think, back in the spring. Peter?
April, yeah, back in April, sir.
Yes, sir. So we have worked with staff and got some great feedback from you all, Planning Board. Just wanted to come up today and provide an update on revisions to the plans based on everybody's feedback, show where we were and where we are moving forward. And I believe Mr. Tadji from ESP, he's got a presentation that we'd like to show to the board.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to what you had seen back in April. Kind of updated, some good news. And then we have a handout that kind of says.
Would you step up to the mic? It's recording as well. Thanks.
Here are the items that we heard from the board and questions that you had, and we're going to do our best tonight to try to answer those. And I think our schedule, knock on wood, is to come see you in August for a regular planning board consideration, and then go on to the public hearing phase. So with that being said, just a quick show of hands. Who was here in April? It was a special meeting on the 24th. Trying to remember. Okay, that's awesome.
I believe most everybody was here for your
Good deal.
introductory.
So the site is familiar. It's Union County. It's R40, and there's a petition in a tandem request to annex the property into the town of Waxhaw. You can see the frontage there along Providence Road, right across from the Atrium Healthcare Facility. Extends back. The bulk of the property is to the east, forging against the floodplain. Lawson, and then I think it's is it Inverness on Providence, which I think at the time we hadn't shown a connection. We had a meeting back, oh good gosh, when was that? It was probably last fall, September, at another facility here in town. A lot of residents, obviously, for those two communities. I don't want to say substantial changes, but enough changes that you're your staff has said, hey, let's go back out to the community. So we have a meeting scheduled to meet with everybody. Letters will be going out Friday. That's on August 2nd at the Forest Hill Church. So we have a room there, and they've been kind enough to host Shea Holmes and Annalena. My name, just for the record, again, Peter Tadji with ESP Associates, the planning director. I think we talked a little bit about this, very familiar document. We've kind of gone ahead and put our site in there as it's shown as part of the county matrix. So it's zoned R40, hasn't been assigned. It's sort of ringed by residential to the north and the east, and then employment EC to the kind of the north there, right along Providence Road. We had previously had a request for EC zoning. We're kind of a tweener. We have a mixed-use project with neighborhood commercial. Neighborhood commercial didn't seem to fit. EC, hey, this isn't a big business campus, it's not a business park. So we've revised the request to CC, and that was just to eliminate all the special consideration requests as part of the conditional zoning process. An example, building footprints limited to 10,000 square feet in an NC zone. And if there's a small boutique grocery in there that wants to come in at 25 or 26,000, that would have to be an SUP. So we didn't want to have to go through all these tandem processes, so we settled on CC, but we certainly want to clarify that it's not Lowe's, it's not Walmart, it's not big box. There's approximately 20 some acres of commercial. One of the comments that you had was the commercial area out front. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. We showed the land plan. You can see the main road coming in. It's skirted the commercial parcels out front. And I think the question from the board, from the dais was, hey, what's going on in there? We're going to want to see some things if we're going to talk about this and consider it. So we're going to show you what's going on in the commercial. As you go across into the main residential area, it's mixed use, it's commercial out front, it's residential to the east, variety of housing types, variety of price points, single family attached, single family detached, various lot sizes. There's a pretty cool cottage type home that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes that kind of rings a fairly large park dedication that's part of the public land dedication requirement, 7 acres, and we're making strides to put that in front of the town. You guys are going to be responsible for programming it. It's a pretty cool facet as you come into the community. One of the other attributes, and we've heard loud and clear from some of your board of commissioners and some of the meetings with staff, and certainly from staff, is what we're calling the connector road. And you all saw the Amavi project back in early 22, and they've put a connection up to our property line, so we're kind of building on that, and we're calling it the connector road, which will provide an opportunity to avoid that intersection at Providence Road and Cuthbertson Road, allowing patrons to come in and either utilize the neighborhood commercial, but certainly get around and provide opportunities for connections. There's also, I understand from Amavi's TIA, some requirements for them to improve the Sunset Hill Road connection that's going to extend, also as you can see with the dashed line, providing another opportunity for egress for both projects. Here's sort of a rendered, little easier to understand. With the plan, you can see the public park as it comes in on the main roundabout, with the various villages, north, south, and to the east. There's a lot of constraints, there's a lot of streams, there's a lot of utilities. It's a very active site, so it's been challenging. All the blue areas that look like ponds and pools, those are BMPs. Stormwater is a challenge because the site goes in multiple directions. One of the things, if you do get an opportunity to come to the neighborhood meeting, we heard loud and clear about all the flooding that's going on in Lawson, and hey, are you guys going to contribute to that? And we're saying no, we're actually going to be required to control that to avoid the same kind of circumstance from an earlier circa type subdivision design. slide of the TIA study map, pretty extensive. Some folks see this and went, oh my goodness. We're being told we're going to see results from the TIA, at least the summary, the executive summary with the off-site improvements. Those are supposed to come on the 31st of July. The understanding was, hey, let's try to get those in hand. Big topic, obviously, with the neighbors as well as your board and the Board of Commissioners as those recommendations come forward. So we won't have the full study or the analysis, we're being told, but at least we'll have an understanding of what the proposed improvements are as they relate to these various study intersection areas. This is a little bit harder to see. It's part of the plan set that Lisa received today. We're on our second round. It communicates all the open space, the green space, some of the data there from the summary sheet, saying that we're providing tree save, open space in excess of what the ordinance requires. So again, with all the challenges of the property, there's still some opportunities to green it up and make it suitable. We're getting into sort of the product. Mr. Ducey here can probably speak more about that. We'll just kind of move through these. These will be on display at the neighborhood meeting, and certainly they've been part of the packet that's been submitted to staff. These are the single-family residences that are located in several of the villages. Some other imagery for the single-family detached to kind of give you more than just a front view, but some of the illustrations on the mass form, architecture, fenestration. We think it's some pretty cool stuff. These are what we characterize as the cottage homes. They're referred to courtyard. They're individual lots. They're single family detached with integrated open space throughout what we call the six-pack area. Pretty cool housing type. These front in various areas on the open space in the large linear green area as required in your ordinance for this type of housing. Here's some imagery of the single-family attached, the townhomes, both alley loaded, front loaded throughout the project. Again, just kind of displaying the quality of the architecture that Shay is interested in bringing here to Waxhaw. Here's some imagery for the commercial. That was the big question. Shay Homes would JV with a commercial developer. This is imagery. Facilities that they've built. They do more mixed use out west in Arizona, California, Washington State. But this is some views, some axiometric views coming in. You can see Providence Road out front. Some of the form-based requirements in your ordinance about how buildings are situated, parking's kind of interior to the courtyard area. But the ideal is to create sort of a streetscape feel as it's integrated both to the main entrance drive and Providence Road that fronts the project. Just some other views communicating the intent. Certainly notes in the packet that say these are concepts, will adhere to your guidelines for architectural, but there may be some variations as this gets further along in the development process, since we're sort of at a land use stage, not a detailed site plan stage. Here's some blow-ups of those buildings. Hey, kind of far away firsthand, so here, this is sort of what they look like, a little bit closer up. A lot of movement in the various elevations, some unique designs, and we haven't had formal feedback from Lisa and her staff, but we believe that these meet or exceed your requirements in Chapter 6 of the ordinance. There's some other imagery integral to the project. We're working on a pretty cool 3D video. It'll be a fly-through. We're definitely going to have that ready for you guys in the August meeting at the Planning Board. We're hoping to get it for the neighborhood meeting. So there's some imagery of how the open space areas would be upfitted with some facilities for community events, activities, a lot of the soft surface trails. We have like almost a mile of trail throughout the community that connects, intertwines with the pedestrian system and connects up to the Inverness on Providence development. They have a trail there. That was one of the things they asked about. Hey, can we get on that trail? Can we get into your trail? So there will be a continuous pedestrian movement, so folks can take their bike, walk their baby buggy and their child, and go down to the neighborhood commercial, and not even have to go out on Providence Road, which I think is a pretty cool facet of the overall development scheme. There's sort of an elevated view of that park facility, big placard at the top there. We're not building it, we're not programming it, just kind of giving you some illustration. Frisbee golf, I asked one of our designers, I said, what are those little lines in there? And it's a Frisbee golf trail. I don't know if that's something you came up with. That was kind of cool. Some parking areas, we've noodled with those in various locations. Certainly going to be a part of the overall development scheme. We're here, and the town's pretty excited about that. We lose our, there we go. This one is kind of similar to that one. It shows a building on there. I said, oh my gosh, should we even show that? We have been in conversations with a group of the swim facility constituents. We're not guiding this development decision. They've expressed an interest. Hopefully they'll come to the public hearing phase and get involved as everybody leads busy lives, and we're hearing that's a demand. That's a demand in Waxhaw. People are tired of driving uptown Charlotte or to Huntersville or Rock Hill for if your children are swimmers, competitive swimmers. There was another slide in the packet, and I wanted to hand these out. This is sort of hey, these are the things we heard from you folks on items we want to focus on and say, hey, we're listening. Primarily, incidentally, there was some reduction in the density. Your land use plan for this area allows up to 4 units to the acre. We're hovering at about 2.1. I think we were at like 2.3. We were at 529, 539. We're down to 482. One of the considerations there was the live work. Boy, oh boy, was that tough for NCDOT to get their arms around. How do they calculate it? What is it? What are the trip assignments? A lot of operational discussions. Shay does it out west. We did not have to have it. It is no longer part of the project. So that's been eliminated from the commercial area. Not necessarily a concern with the CC land use assignment that we're seeking, the zoning that we're requesting. So kind of going through this real quickly, commercial plan layout, hey, what's there? And that was back in April. So we've done our best to kind of better communicate building masses, uses. Uses were set really much by the TIA process. So there's some verbiage there that talks about the conceptual imagery that's being promoted and provided to you guys as you review this further along. Development area A, could be terminology, could be a code concern. We had a gas station as part of the TIA listing. Hey, it's going to probably have a convenience store component to it. Ironically, gas station's not allowed without a special use permit, but a convenience store with gas is allowed. So we're moving right along. We're saying that's fine with us. We think there's a need there. Definitely would be an attribute to the commercial area out front. Development area B, those are the list of items that were actually in the TIA and that have been studied, and then there were a few that just didn't seem to fit. The live work we've talked about, strip retail just didn't sound right, so we characterize that more appropriately, neighborhood commercial, even though we're CC, we're not NC. And then the hotel, hey, what are you doing? What's with a hotel there? It's probably not appropriate. So the nuance there is the traffic study is going to come out with all these improvements based on trip gens from the list on the left. We'll probably be cast to have to do those, we're not gonna go through another 6-month TIA process, even though the trips are dropping dramatically with the elimination of those various uses that are shown on the right with the yellow highlighting and the lines through them. Waivers and exceptions, we're certainly grateful that that's part of the conditional zoning process. On the left are the ones that were proffered and discussed at the original submittal with some of the design changes, sort of the, I'll call it the compression of the commercial area. We used to have it further across the stream. Now it's been limited to areas just along Providence Road. We've limited those waivers and exceptions to the 3 categories that are shown on the right. The other ones have been eliminated, so we're showing those with the yellow highlighting and the strike-throughs. Certainly working with staff on some of the design attributes. One of the biggies is the design criteria for the road. You can't really see it real well on the plan, but it's the connection to Amavi, and you're wiggling in and out of these streams. Amavi's handing us their CAD file and saying, here's where the access point is, you got to tie into it. There's underground gas, there's underground electricity, Duke Power, Union Power lines. So to make that connection, we think it's an important connection that facilitates that connector road. We're going to need to work with staff on some, what would your town engineer call it, some traffic calming measures to make that road safe and compliant, because it's not going to meet the 150-foot radii criteria that would get us through the final construction document stage. But that's possibly going to be outweighed by the need for the connection in providing that traffic calming component. Road improvement questions. We'll be making improvements to Providence Road. I think, oh heck yeah, that'll be probably number 1 in the list that's coming out on the 31st of July. Draft TIA we talked about. I think we ran the TIA, Lisa, with and without Providence being improved. I don't think we can wait that long. I think when it gets down this far south, it's 5+ years out, starting at Ray Road. So we just wanted to kind of understand what the differential was. So that'll be part of the analysis component. Parking capacity, there's some questions. Hey, you have commercial on 2 sides of a main road coming in. DOT was concerned about where those median cuts are and how they're going to be restricted with right over. There will be pedestrian islands, so we're going to make that as safe as possible as an entrance road, but at the sake of not having some of the other uses on the other side of the road, and that entrance point was sort of the nail in the ground. This is where you're going to put it, and we have some information on the plan that shows so many feet from one of the Pittsburgh turns that goes around, and they were very specific. So we're kind of following the rules and the rules of the road, being told where that's at, and that's sort of guiding that entrance geometry to those parcels. But with that, we appreciate your listening to us, and we're certainly here to ask questions, and Zach is the expert on the shape product, and we certainly look forward to coming and see you in August.
Thank you so much for your presentation, joining us this evening, giving us an update on the Atalanta project, and looking forward to seeing hearing results from the community meeting, and then looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys around August.
Yes, sir. You're all invited. You're getting a letter.
Sounds good.
What time is that community meeting?
It starts at 6 o'clock sharp at Forest Hill Church.
August 2nd.
To get you to the meeting room.
And then after I get the second plan review comments out, if we're in good shape, we do plan to bring this to you guys for recommendation in August. I'll try to get you guys the plans early so you can ask questions. If we have anything we need to change before that meeting, we're going to attempt to do that so we can have that communication ahead, so we don't have a long August meeting trying to figure it all out.
Is the TIA still on schedule for end of July?
Yes. Yes. now's good.
I have one design question regarding commercial development. I heard that you mentioned this is like conceptual designs, but the shade character, what I saw in like residential unit, I think they should still reflect more on the commercial side. I found there was little disconnect between aesthetics of both. I know you tried like there was movement and there was a little bit of characteristic, but coming from like different when I have like visited different states, I feel they are like more cohesive in their integration of like residential unit designs versus like commercial. So I don't know, like I know it's very early stage, but if you could develop those further, that would be appreciated.
Sure, definitely. And we, you know, it's the front door to our community as well. You know, so we certainly understand and appreciate the importance of it being aesthetically in line with what, you know, with the town and the community in general. And just as an aside, we plan to dictate, you know, the CCNRs and the architectural standards and have control over that for whomever the end user is. So certainly keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, along with that, I would just recommend that it looked like you're having the back of the commercial unit front facing to the road, right? And so that is the front door to that community. There's communities or commercial properties I can think of where it doesn't go off well, where it just looks really plain Jane. The back of Curitan, like the back of Dunkin' Donuts and East Coast Wings. I would like to, if you guys can pull it off, and I saw an attempt to do that in the drawings, but to make it more either the residential or a store front, not the store back. If you can get your designers and the folks moving into those buildings to uphold a front-facing, what's the word? There's the spirit of front-facing to make it not look like you're just looking at the back of some commercial property. But over by Best Buy,
Yes.
on
So
Blakeney, it looks like the back of a building. You don't want to try looking at a back of a building. You want to see the front of a building.
even the new shopping center that off of where the Publix is.
I was gonna
The-
bring that one up.
Yeah, and the brand new coffee drive-through. That whole back of the building is very, which it lacks frontage appeal,
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that we capture the spirit of what the town of Waxhaw is, being a lot of stores at our main street. Excuse me.
Very true.
A lot of our stores in our main street have their front door is their frontage for their store, and we understand the site constraints of doing a property like this. We just want to make sure that we take that feeling and then locate it so we can support your endeavors up Providence, and so there's a contiguous feel of cohesiveness within our town and within our community corridors, because that's really what it is. It's a commercial community corridor for us, in my opinion. You call it neighborhood. So I guess that's kind of splitting hairs, the differences, but we want to make sure that that frontage appeal still translates throughout our town.
I think you got a nice layout for the whole development, working with the roads that you have available to you. I think it does work well. I think, the approval is something that can happen pretty easily, just as long as having that aesthetic on the front, facing Providence, that it's consistent with Waxhaw. I think that would help a lot.
Just one question. Bridget Grant, land use consultant with Moore and Van Allen. In considering the rear architecture, and I understand the context, Lisa, if you could share the Publix elevation, we can check that. But it also sort of calls to mind Waverly. If you go interior to the site, you have all of the retail shops and restaurants that face onto the courtyard, but the back side, which is what faces Providence Road, couldn't be left as like a total back of house. And so even though it's not the front door, it still reads well. Is that something that you would consider to be a good comparison?
I would agree with that comparison, yes. That would be appropriate in that Waverly courtyard where a lot of the younger families congregate near the ice cream shop. That's kind of on a standalone little island over there. Those stores' fronts face out towards that courtyard, and that would be something that we're thinking of still kind of keeping that interaction available, even when we know it's the back of the building. We still would like to hope that there would be that curb appeal.
Like Chewy's dining space,
Yes.
even though it's on the front, it continues to the back, and even though that's the parking lot side, it
Yes.
still has.
It still has a curb appeal.
Inviting.
Yes.
I was a planner reviewing that plan when it was going through, so I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your guys' time and coming back to us a couple of times to, keep us updated on the project. We're very excited.
Appreciate your consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Likewise, we appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Pallavi. All right, moving.
Lisa, what's the date of the neighborhood meeting? What's the date?
August 2nd?
Second?
Yep. It's a Tuesday.
Moving on to item 2 of old business, we have a work plan update, I believe.
Right, so we are almost 6 months from our, the Board of Commissioners retreat, so they are getting ready to do maybe a mini retreat to kind of catch up on all the projects, where we are for this year. Some items on our work plan was the land use plan. We do have the draft completed. We're sending it out to staff and outside agencies, all the other directors and departments tomorrow. I believe we'll give them 2 weeks to review, look for any red flag type of issues, and then we'll get it posted online, send you all a copy, probably do a preview with you guys as well, get your comments, and then post a public hearing process that'll take us to the end of the year. So we're excited about that. Another item coming up is, last month you talked about neighborhood meetings and revising that. That was taken off the agenda at the Board of Commissioners meeting. They wanted more time with that, and they wanted to combine that with some of the rezoning regulations. So I'll get with you, Dan. We talked about the public hearing notices. We have a draft of what we want those to look like with the QR code, and we thought even like where there's a sidewalk, having the sandwich board signs with the QR code. If it's Cuthbertson Road and no sidewalk, we're not going to throw a code on there. No one's going to drive by and try to snap a picture. So we're working through that. So that'll be next month along with this review. So 3 big projects next month.
I believe on that item we were also going to discuss changing the sign dimensions.
Yes. Yep. It's all part of it.
All part of it. That makes sense to hold that back and then kind of do it as a package or group
Yep.
amendment.
The other 2 items, we have conservation subdivision updates. We have reached out to Randall Arndt. He wrote Conservation by Design. It's a book. Weddington has a conservation subdivision ordinance. We used his book to come up with some of those design standards. So we do have a quote for him to come in probably this fall. And then there's a company called Urban 3 that talks about a financial decision when you're doing some of these zoning amendments, and how like a downtown parcel brings in 5 times the tax value per acre than Los. So it's these downtown mixed-use neighborhood center type of developments that are bringing in the most bang for the buck.
They're vital to our town infrastructure and
Without
our community.
cost. Right. So that'll be really interesting. We're looking to bring him in this fall as well. So be on the lookout for that. And otherwise, we're on plan with the text amendments, and that's all I got for that. We'll just keep you posted.
One of the things that I was hoping that we might also discuss in our work plan maybe coming up, we had a lot dealing with sewer connectivity and how that could be a very vital issue coming up, which I want to thank the board members that were here and covered for me, and kept business moving forward. So thank you to everybody that was there, and I appreciate your support. But I also still think that we need a little more education in what might be demanded of our town in the future, looking into the future 20-year plan, and how we might still better serve our town by becoming more educated in maybe wastewater and stormwater treatments, and what that might entail for us in the future. So if staff could possibly locate somebody and evaluate if that might be something that might be beneficial for everybody.
In that text amendment, we had the public hearing last week at the board meeting. They recommended going from a C-type buffer to a D right off the back, and that's going to come in. Any non-public sewer is required to come through as a special use permit, so you guys will have a look at it, make a recommendation, but we are going to require that D.
Buffer and screen.
Buffer width, yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep, we can get somebody.
Thank you. Moving down the list, we are into new business. We have Lisa presenting a major subdivision right of way that is for Sunset Hill.
So you heard about this in the Adelina presentation. The Mavi Waxhaw conditional zoning plan was approved October of 2022, and you can see in this diagram we had a pretty important connection from Cuthbertson Road to get to that signal on Providence through Sunset Hill. This right-of-way is either private or a easement. As a condition of a MAVI, they were required to do a public dedication of right-of-way to make sure we can get that connection. Their approval is conditioned upon that. So we received the right-of-way plat. The dedication of right-of-way is considered a major subdivision. It's by right. If it meets ordinances, we have to approve it, and it does. So this goes to you guys for planning board recommendation. It has to go to the Board of Commissioners for approval. After tonight's recommendation, I do plan to bring this forward next week to the Board of Commissioners meeting for them to vote on. Planning staff recommends approval. It is consistent with the LDC requirements. Again, it's by right, therefore no conditions can be placed on the plan, and then the requested action is a motion for favorable recommendation, subdivision 014937-2023 as presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just to clarify for those not in attendance, so Sunset Hill is a private road at this time to date.
Correct.
That the current ownership and rights belong to Lowe's retail store.
Yep, and a small portion along Aldi.
And a small portion along Aldi is public currently.
Right.
So this is to bring Sunset Hill within the town purview. The town would then control and maintain Sunset Hill moving forward after annexation.
Plat approval.
Plat approval.
Yep.
And then this road would be a key artery connector to potential future development. But at this time, that it is not, they have not started any construction nor have been approved for any construction at this time.
Correct.
So this is this is before any residential or any earth is disturbed on any site that may consider. This is something that would be crucial for the town in the future, no matter what, to have access to these sites. So
a public dedication of right-of-way doesn't mean that we have to accept it. It gives us the opportunity to accept it. And before we accept the road for maintenance, they are required to bring it up to code, which includes sidewalk connections.
perfect. That was exactly what I was going to ask, is what about code and essentially the retention pond that currently is, last I looked, holding water, which I don't believe that was ever designed to be a possible water retention location. And then the public access with any pedestrian right-of-way or additional trail or bike lane or anything like that might be required.
Yep, they would have to bring it up to code.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions?
They being Lowe's.
The Amavi,
The new.
it's a condition upon Amavi to get the road accepted as public right-of-way.
Thank you.
So they are going through construction plan approval process now, and the condition was that they get this right-of-way recorded prior to construction plan approval.
Does anybody else have any comments? Questions?
There's a proper room for setbacks and all that stuff, or I guess stuff's already there, right? Yeah.
Stuff's already there. It's just, I believe it's just making sure the correct infrastructure is to code, as Lisa let us know. Let's see here. I believe an action is required here. We need to go ahead and staff recommends approval of the proposed right-of-way.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All approved? Thank you, Lisa. Moving on. We have a work session, if needed. I believe Lisa may have a few things for us. No? We do not. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.